Hey, welcome back to Innovate Africa. I'm Kiddo Cummings, and today we're going to do things differently. I'm going to let one man, one sole proprietor, an innovator with a lens, a man whose heart is immersed in Africa, and also became the official photographer for Queen. I'm going to get him to tell you his story because I believe within this particular story there are deep business lessons for us to learn, things that they've not taught us at university. So, for example, how did a quantity surveyor without any formal photography training become the official photographer of Queen? It's all about the hustle. It's all about how he went about doing it. Let's take a listen to Torleif Svensson.
I didn't know I should be a photographer, and I didn't study photography. But after we call it gymnasium in Sweden, the high school, I went to a technical high school, and I wanted to be a land surveyor. It's a civil engineer degree in Sweden, and there was a bit of photography there. It was for aerial photography to do maps. So I did that. It was a short course. And I took the exam and I started to work in that field. And finally, after some years, I got offered a job as head of the photo lab of National Land Survey of Sweden. There were 60 photographers. I was almost, I was not even 30 years old. It was tough because all of them wanted my job. I was a land surveyor. I was not a photographer. And after 5 years, I quit because my photographers, they had a more fun job than me. So I started my freelance career. You know, we had rock and roll in my father's church. So that became my music. And I wanted to explore other artists, not only the, what you say, Christian rock stars. So I started to go on concerts, and I remember the first concert I went to with my camera. My brother-in-law took me to John Hyatt concert. And I happened to have some settings on my camera, so some of the pictures I got there were some lines there that shouldn't be there because I had too long exposure time, and they came out so well, so I kept that picture instead of throwing it away that another photographer maybe should have done. And from that day, I wanted to take pictures on concerts. And of all artists, I have 500 artists in my archive. No one has been published but Queen, and it's a few since last year, actually. And all artists have at least a couple of fussy pictures with no, proper sharpness or whatever. I mean, I've been traveling the world with my camera because of my camera. And it has been the travel industry. So I used to say when I'm in Sweden or in the Nordic countries, everybody have seen my pictures without knowing it's my pictures. And then what I have done as a passion is going to Africa to do documentation of aid works, NGO work. So that has brought me to Africa so many times into so many countries of Africa. It has been other part of the world as well, but especially Africa. Africa is the continent I like most. So Star for Life, they help the young students in the schools that to really think of what they want to be in life. Maybe it's not so easy if they are in a rural area or a small village. Maybe no one has a job, and no one goes to work. Or maybe people are sick, and maybe the children even don't have parents. So, and we found out, or we got to know, that 30% in this area are infected by HIV. Even the school children, the teachers, were dying. And at that time, it was around 300,000 people a year died of AIDS in South Africa. The big problem is there is still almost 100,000 that dies in South Africa every year of complication because of HIV and AIDS. Yeah. So they help the children to focus on their dreams, and to reach that goal you have to study. You really have to study in school, and you can't get sick on the way. So safe sex, or what do you call that when you abstinence, yeah, and to study. That's the simple message. And to help the kids, we have music in the program. We have theater and sports. So, and the music gives them, we make songs. When I say me, it's my best friends. They are musicians, and they have done a lot of songs with value words that the kids can remember. Yeah. Yeah, I was on a no, what is a fair? Yeah, a graphic fair in Birmingham, but I wanted to stay in London because my goal was to go on rock concerts during the evenings, you know. So I saw in the magazine, in the free magazine, that Depeche Mode should play on the Monday. I took my camera with me. I knew it will be very hard to get it in. So I went to the box office and I told them it has to be a fax here for my magazine. And I have never been working for a magazine before or after. So I had to argue a bit because I didn't find a not existing fax. And finally they let me in as a press photographer. That means I had 3 songs. I could be there, the 3 first songs, together with the press photographers. I was the amateur. And then I could stay on the concert, so I didn't need to go out, but I couldn't take more pictures. The day after, Ultravox were playing in London. I did the same trick. On the Wednesday, it was Jethro Tull. On the Thursday, it was Iron Maiden. And that week, on the Friday, Queen were playing in Wembley Arena. So I got pictures of 5 world-known artists. It was slide film I had in my camera. It was the analog time. I didn't have autofocus on my camera, but I knew I had very good pictures. Of course, Freddie Mercury was the one that it was hardest to get him on film because he was running around all the time. But I knew I had good pictures. But I never got to see them because I got theft in my rental car. The camera bag disappeared, and in the camera bag I had my exposed film, and I was crying when I found out my camera bag and films, especially my films. The camera, you can always buy new ones, but the film that was exposed, I regret too much. Huh? So, and that made me be so focused to have new pictures of Freddie. After 2 years, I got my chance. It was a rock festival in Montreux. Queen was the head act, and I decided I take my car, buy a lot of films. I had stopped my assignment on the land survey thing at that time, and I drove. I was driving to Montreux. It took me 22 hours. I slept on the ferry 1 hour from Denmark to Germany. And I got my new pictures because I also had called a magazine, a gossip magazine that don't write about rock and roll. And I thought they will not have a photographer there. Maybe they can help me. And they did. So there was a fax. When I arrived to Montreux, I got my new pictures. But also, I had been in South Africa for the first time in 1984 to visit my cousins. And I happened to know that Queen had played in Sun City the same year. So I wanted to talk to someone from Queen. So I waited outside their hotel, and I saw that Brian May, the guitar player of Queen, was in the lobby. So I went straight in. I presented myself and said, we have to talk because we have the same experience, not the same maybe, but we have experience of South Africa the same year. And we started to talk, and he is very polite, he's humble, he shows interest, and also he's very interested in photography. And after a while he told me, we have chartered a boat on Lake Geneva tomorrow. Why don't you come with us and we can talk more, yeah? So, and of course, I didn't deny it. I went, and there was a lot of artists on the boat trip. There was some press and media, of course. And there I sat with Brian May and spoke about South Africa and photography. So we became sort of, maybe not friends, but we were friendly to each other at least. And a month later, they should go out on a tour. They had been playing at Live Aid the year before. This is now 86, Live Aid 85. I was not there. But now I had met Queen. I had my new pictures of Queen, and they were on tour again. And the first concert was in Stockholm. Of course, I was invited to go and see them backstage. I had a friend now in the band. And the day after the concert, I got a call from Grand Hotel where they stayed. Jim Beach. If you have seen the film Bohemian Rhapsody, you know he was called Miami Beach. The manager, he wanted to see me. And I went to the hotel. I brought a portfolio, of course, with rock and roll photos, and also the Montreux pictures of Queen. And he saw my unsharp pictures, my experimental pictures with zooming and whatever. And then he said, we want to see more of this. And I heard about your stolen films. You gonna go with us on tour. So there it started. So it was a 2 months tour in Europe, only Europe. And what you didn't know then it was the last tour with Freddie Mercury and Queen. When Brian May saw I had a Hasselblad camera, a camera made in Sweden, by the way, in Gothenburg, and the camera that is left on the moon. NASA used the camera on the first moon trip, so they left some of the Hasselblad cameras on the moon. So that it's a world famous camera. And when Brian May saw that camera on my neck, he wanted me to develop the films so we could have a look on this large format slide pictures. Yeah. So I had to find a photo lab. It was analog, as I told, and to develop this. And then we could sit the day after and look on this slide films against the lamp. And suddenly he said, "Oh, this is a good one. We have to show that to Freddie." And then we went to Freddie, and I mean, this is so unreal when I talk about it. So, but it happened several times. Yeah. It was not that easy to talk to him. He was polite, but almost shy. You couldn't think of that when you saw him on stage, because he was totally opposite when he was performing. But backstage he had a low profile. Of course, he couldn't go out among people. With Brian May and John Deacon, especially the bassist player, I went on bar hopping. We went through the nights in European cities from bar to bar, and it's also very unreal memories for me. But they could go out, but not Freddie. Listen, I knew it was the last concert on that tour. Maybe I hoped there should be a continuation. Maybe they should go to America or whatever, and I should have a chance to go with them. But when I was standing in front of the stage in the camera ditch, the press photographers had left 2 hours ago after the 3 songs, and I was there alone, and I was able to take the last pictures. Of course, I took more than one of Freddie Mercury, and I didn't realize then, because it was known. It was not known, but I was not sure it's going to be more pictures of Freddie for me, and it never became more pictures from anybody of Freddie Mercury on stage. So it has been growing these thoughts during the years. Yeah, I had some exhibitions already this time, but I didn't show Queen pictures. Of course, I wanted to use the pictures for exhibitions in the future, but I was not confident enough, I think, to show my music pictures. And then Freddie died, 91, 5 years after the tour. But not even then I thought it was time to show my pictures. And maybe I didn't have time as well, because it's a little bit hard to be a freelance photographer, and it's very expensive to do exhibitions. So this idea of having exhibitions with my rock photography had to wait. And it was not until I saw the film Bohemian Rhapsody 33 years later, in the end of 2018, that I told to a friend that had asked me to see this picture. They were not even scanned. It was slides, staying in a dark archive box somewhere where I have my pictures, my slide pictures. And I told my friend, you have to help me now. You're going to see my pictures, but you have to help me. So he bought number one of all the pictures that I exhibit for my show. And that made it possible to make a book and to have exhibitions. Yeah. So to conclude this thing, I want to say that this experience with Queen have helped me to give back to Africa, actually, because Freddie was born in Africa. He was born in Zanzibar. And I was in South Africa the same year Queen played in South Africa in Sun City. I got on tour. I went on tour with them. Freddie died of AIDS. South Africa was, or our worst hit of AIDS, probably in the world. And I was part of Star for Life that started 14 years later. So what I try to do now is to give some part of the proceeds from my shows or from my book back to Africa in a way.
What a phenomenal story. And I think the lesson I get out of this is that you don't necessarily need to know all the best people, have access to the best networks. It is your attitude first and foremost that can lead you down a path to success. It's something they don't teach us in business schools. It's something our MBAs don't delve into deeply enough. But Torleif Svensson is a man who reached the pinnacle of photography. The man who sits with the last photographs of Freddie Mercury on stage, the very last person, yet he gives back to the African continent, a continent which Freddie Mercury emanated from, and he is helping young people and adults with HIV/AIDS. There's an innovator who impacts lives. I'll see you on Innovate Africa next week.